The 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist are resurrected in this week's episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. Guys, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist has always been, for me personally, one of the coolest things about the entire Naruto franchise. They're just this group of really super hardcore ninja that know how to use these super over-the-top freaking swords. They're a lot of fun to watch. There's multiple generations of them. They all have distinctive character designs and abilities, and they're coming back in the Boruto anime series. And that's because Shizuma Hoshigaki's overall plan and motive is to resurrect the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist and to return the hidden mist village to its original bloody glory. And he's already started up his very own group. He only has 6 members though. He needs that 7th member. So who is going to be the 7th member of Shizuma's group? It's gonna be Kagura Karatachi. Who else could it be? He's the only distinctive character who's been introduced in this arc, aside from that one dude who, believe it or not, did not get decapitated by Shizuma. More on that later. But really, this episode right here is very simple. In fact, if the plot could be boiled down, it would be Boruto and Kagura are hanging out when suddenly they're ambushed by Shizuma and all of his red-wearing goons. They want him to join the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. They threaten to kill Boruto. Kagura has no choice. He joins him, and at the very end of the episode, they actually find all of the original swords that were used by the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. I can't believe they give them such easy access to it. Maybe it was really tough to break into this area where they could find the swords, but it was really weird. Also, it's kind of strange that apparently Killer Bee just decided to get rid of Samehada. Maybe there was a scene that I missed where he actually did do that and actually gave it back to the Hidden Mist Village, but there it is, and it's almost certainly going to be used by Shizuma, which makes sense because he's from the Hoshigaki clan, same as Kisame's. You guys know the drill, but I cannot wait to see which swords are going to go to each of these individual characters, who unfortunately are just not as distinctive as some of the other ninja swordsmen that we've actually seen in the series. Maybe they have unique abilities that I don't know about, but a couple of the members just seem kind of boring. Just 2 regular dudes, a weird freaking creepy chick who looks like Edna Mode on drugs from The Incredibles, and some big dude by the name of Kyoho, who, I don't even know what to make of this guy. He looks like a freaking serial killer. If anything, he does look kind of intimidating and scary. But what's really interesting about this episode, of course, is that we have Kagura, who's between a rock and a hard place, because he desperately doesn't want to return to his fearsome ways, where he would go just completely freaking insane and give in to his bloodlust and try to kill people. But we go through this flashback sequence where a couple years prior, he was actually training with some of the other younger students, and there was a scene where he's about to kill this one kid, and then suddenly Shizuma jumps in the way and just gets cut across his chest. This is an important moment because this is when Shizuma actually realized that Kagura is going to be instrumental in actually transforming the Hidden Mist Village back to the way that it used to be. He was looking for that cog in his machine, that super violent cog, and he found it in Kagura. Not to mention this guy also happens to be mastering that super powerful sword which is used by Chojuro, which of course is conveniently missing from the group of other swords, but that's because it was in use by Shizuma in this episode, who was actually starting to train with it, and I really wanted to see more of that. I thought that would have been really awesome. I thought it would have been a good build-up before we actually got to the action when Shizuma and his crew arrive, but honestly, that stuff was pretty satisfying too, and even watching Boruto fight back against them was great, especially because he was using different chakra and nature attacks, and that's always really fun to see. There's also some other little developments which are going on, such as Mitsuki, who's going around the village and trying to get some intel, and even Sweet Getsu freaking returns, which honestly makes a lot of sense. He's from the Hidden Mist Village. He wanted to be a part of the Ninja Swordsman as well. He's actually used one of the blades many times in the series, and I'm glad to see him actually return because I always felt that he was underutilized in Naruto Shippuden. And here's the perfect opportunity to maybe get to see more of Suigetsu and his freaking awesomeness. I've always liked Suigetsu as a character. He's kind of a smart aleck, but still, that's what I've always really liked about him. He can still manage to back up, you know. He's got just as much bark as he does bite, so I hope we'll get to see more of him in the future. What I will say is these were some pretty solid developments right here. Kagura reluctantly having to become a villain, giving all these super powerful weapons to these criminals, and it's going to cause one heck of a battle. I mean, if the opening is any indication, we're definitely going to see a lot of our favorite characters having some really epic fights. So, what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Boruto, not much happened in this episode. The more I think about it, like, it was basically just watching Boruto and Kagura, like, in this one room filled with water for, like, 20 minutes straight. But still, there were a lot of things that I really did enjoy about it. I especially loved finally getting to see Shizuma in action, getting to see him with the gills and the sharp teeth, and it's awesome! He's such a cool character. I love his crazy design. It totally reminds me of Kisame, just with ridiculously long hair, and he actually has some pretty unique abilities, but Boruto manages to surprise him in this episode. I love the fact that Boruto is using different chakra natures, and he utilizes some lightning style in this one, which is very smart considering that he's going up against some water opponents. He actually infuses a lot of that into his shuriken that he throws. But no matter really what happens, even in a great scene where Boruto is starting to use some Kage Bunshin styled abilities, man, just Shizuma has this down on lock. He's just a little older and a little bit more of an experienced ninja and has a much higher bloodlust, which means he's really going in for the kill, and even uses this water style technique where his entire sword gets just completely like wrapped around with water, and it allows him to unleash a super powerful attack, which is really awesome. I love it. Shizuma himself is a very charismatic and also very creepy villain, especially with the way he sort of like interacts with Yagura, which frankly borderlines on like pedophilia. It is disturbing the way he's constantly just touching his face and claiming that he needs him. It's not too dissimilar from Zabuza and Haku, to be perfectly honest, and I kind of like the illusion there. And frankly, I just can't wait to see these guys in action and see what swords they're actually going to get. I can't quite figure out like which member is going to get what sword, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see. You could probably get some previews for that if you actually do watch the preview, although I tend not to like watching the preview because I like being excited to see what's going to happen in the show, especially considering that this arc right here is not based on any manga chapter, but is going to be getting a novel adaptation at some point in the near future. Other than that, some other little things about this episode. The dude who I thought got his head cut off in the last episode, it actually didn't happen at all. Apparently, he just got his neck cut a little bit, and Sarada healed him. I don't know. Maybe Shizuma's just kind of sloppy when it comes to executions, which for someone who wants to be a member of the Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist, that's something he might need to work on. That or something else just happened off screen that we didn't really get to see. And we got to see Sarada return in this episode. She realizes that things are starting to intensify, and it's getting to a point where the kids are probably going to have to start telling these adults what the hell is actually going on with all of this crazy stuff going on. So I liked this episode. It was kind of slow, but there were still some really cool moments, and I liked getting to see the introduction of all of the villains, and I love the way they look, despite the fact that they're also not as inventive as the other ninja swordsmen. Still, I can't wait to see where this story is going to be going, and what sort of battles that we're going to be getting, and what sort of lessons these characters are going to learn. There's a lot of development period for this arc, which will do a great job of priming up the next couple ones. So, great episode right here. A little slow in my humble opinion, but honestly, I got a lot of enjoyment out of this one. And like I said, if you don't know what's going to want to happen in the next couple episodes, just don't watch the preview, and you'll be completely surprised, just like I was about this episode, which I had to reevaluate a couple times in my head. Originally, I was going to give it a 3 out of 5, kind of an average episode. And while I still feel that way, I did love the introduction of all the villains, and Shizuma is just way too much fun to watch, so I'm giving this episode a 4 out of 5. Check it out, Boruto fans. You heard my thoughts on the episode. I want to hear yours. Sound off in the comments section below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay Dandel, baby.